Hi, hello. Welcome back. Okay, so I want to expand on something that I started talking about on Nervous System Doctor on Instagram. And it was about this scale of consciousness, right? You can refer to it as an easy reference point as the Hawkins scale of consciousness. So you can Google that, whatever you want to do with it. It's just there if you want to have a visual point for this. So I want to expand on what I definitely mean about it. So I feel very, very much right here, right now. I'm gonna slow it down because something wants to, talk through me, so I'm gonna allow this. This is something that's just so important to everyone, absolutely everyone, in their evolution and their release and freedom of their soul. So in this scale, it shows you this really low point, which also has a reference point to your chakras, which is your root chakra, sacral chakra, your plexus chakra, your heart chakra, throat, third eye, and your crown chakra, right? So it actually has those colors attached to it. When we're in our lower chakras, it's if you're not stable and you haven't moved up through that layer of yourself, which is shame and guilt. Okay, shame and guilt and fear. And I know for myself as a child, I feared being touched in this sacred place. I know it's sacred because you're taught as a kid it's sacred, right? And then shame, you feel shame when someone literally does something mean to you or rejects you. You feel that in that place in your body. As time goes on, that builds up. But if you're not letting go of these things and processing, it keeps you in that lower state of consciousness. So the communication to someone who's more above you, that's in willingness, that is doing things, right? You're not going to have a clear communication between each other. You're probably going to have, if you're operating from the fear, shame, guilt, you're probably going to have jealousy. You're probably going to be not so compassionate to yourself at all. And you're going to be wanting a lot of material things because you were stuck in that material place because you haven't learned that base lesson, that root chakra lesson. As you move through that lesson, you are elevating in consciousness. You're ascending now, and you're ascending through your body. You are consciousness ascending through the human body. You come up through your sacral chakra, which is what we would perceive as where you expand from. It's your womb. You also feel creative in this place, especially when you're making out with someone and you feel that heat in the body. That is your, not just butterflies, it's literally a chemical combustion. You've got nitric oxide. A lot is happening here, but you're moving through that willingness to move. You're moving. And that's great because you're no longer in the lower chakra. You're grounded, you're sovereign, you've learned the lessons here. You move up through consciousness as you ascend through yourself. You go through that lesson in the sacral and you're in the plexus. Now you're going through what motivates you, finding your purpose, finding reason, and you're encouraged, right? So you're learning about yourself. You're going through these lessons now. And now you're elevating more. You're ascending further in consciousness. Now you're going up to being able to express your reason. You are in love. You're finding peace. You're finding joy. It's expressive. Naturally, when your throat chakra is open, it's because you are in your truth. Regardless of you being in your lower chakras, that's the first step to moving forward and making that movement, is being in it. Admitting that you're in it versus lying to yourself and others that you're not in it because you feel the shame and guilt, right? Throat chakra is open. If your heart's open, you're expressing clearly. You're letting people know that you love them. You're loving yourself clearly. You're saying what you want and what you don't want, what you clearly like and don't like. You can say no and feel confident in that, not feel shame and guilt in saying that to someone else. Third eye, you see things clearly. Out, now you're enlightened, now you're an observer. That's what enlightenment is. We overcomplicate it because we think that we have our books of ministry, right? Through different religions that depict what it should be like, what enlightenment should be like. It's going to look different for everyone because you are different. Your body holds different memories. It has similar memories and it's had similar experiences to other people, but you're in your journey. You're ascending through your physical being and you need to take care of your being. Oh, sorry guys. I'm going to take care of my bean. She's got a bit of a runny nose. I did have a woolly sweater on just before too. It may be the wool. So, yeah, so as we shift through these levels of ourselves, it's reflected, right? It's reflected from our environment, because we are not separate from our environment. We contribute to it, and we also take away from it. So the people that are closest to you are a reflection of the point that you can measure yourself where you're in, right? For me, I'm in a very big growth period. So I feel like I'm going between my willingness, reason, definite reason, and love. And then sometimes I am in that enlightened state, but you don't need to stay in that place all the time. You don't need to stay there, because it's difficult to communicate downwards to people, because when we end up having to lower ourselves in order to resonate with others, because most people here, as much as you don't want to hear this, most people are operating from fear, shame, and guilt here around you. And you know that because most people can say, I know that person. And if you can reference that person, it's because that's still a resonance within you. It's still a reflection of you. That's why you see it, because it's light. Light can reference light. So, the point being is that sometimes it's so difficult for us to feel connected to people that we're around all the time. As a lot of my clients have said, I don't connect with my friends anymore, and I just don't want to be around them. But that's because you've outgrown them. Your pharmacy's changed in your body. Your consciousness has gone past wherever they were. And you can measure that you were in that, wherever they were, and you can describe them, that's where you were, but you're no longer there anymore. And this is where the law of detachment comes into play, where you're learning to have to let go, otherwise we keep it dropping down. And I've done that many times where I hadn't let go of that. I'm like, I'm up here now, I'm good, but I kept dropping down because I kept having anchors in those lower places. I kept having anchors in fear. I kept having anchors in shame. We can't visit these places if there's no cord or attachment that brings us back there. And you are going to lose friends. You are going to lose family. You're going to feel shame, and you're going to feel guilt, and you're going to go through grief and loss. And that's the process to consciousness. It's something that you came here to experience. You're going to experience it all. Everyone does. And through time, you are going to have different groups of people. You're going to have different relationships, whether that be friendships or romantic. Your sibling and family relationship dynamics are always going to be shifting and changing as you are. Okay? As you are. So you have the ability to be more conscious of what you are doing, and you then have an effect and control of your environment in the most loving way, we would hope, right? But if you are in that autopilot self who hasn't made changes, has seen the same day for the last 10, 20 years, you're part of the environment. You're barely contributing. You're still part of it, but you're only maybe, again, 5% of the day, which is 80 minutes a day, that you are contributing to the shift 5% of the day. Imagine if you were shifting it 20% of the day. Imagine if you're contributing 30% of the day to your environment about consciously being connected to yourself and making shifts and changes around you, and you being able to have that direct effect on people. And what I mean by that, everyone's seen that person who's just so joyful, who lights the room up, people are drawn to. Who is that person? And you want to know them. They're not a celebrity, but they're a celebrity in God's eyes, because they are the embodiment of their peace, their joy, and their love. That's attractive. That's a magnet. You are a magnet to them, and that is drawing you up from that lower state, because you wouldn't be able to observe and go, I'm not that, right? If you were already there. So the fear, shame, guilt person who's experiencing that and whose life is reflecting that, sees that person, they're questioning or probably picking on them, because usually, you're probably feeling jealousy as well at that stage. They're not that great, and then you start to tweak your style. You'll start to tweak how you speak and start to mirror them because you want to be like them. You want to have people responding to you the way that they are. Then you've made a change. For us to evolve, right, we really need to be making conscious shifts. So I remember, like, I was seeing Groundhog Day for a long time, and I started just doing something different every week. Something different, a new experience, seeing different places. I was loving driving. After I had a car accident, I had really bad driving anxiety. As soon as, like, I started to overcome it, I just knew that I needed to make the change by creating a new experience for myself versus getting in the car and thinking I'm going to constantly have a car accident now. And that's what trauma does. And that's repetition. Once that's fully ingrained in there, you have the capacity by hijacking your own amygdala to bring you out of that state and bring you into safety by trying something new. See, when we're doing something new, right, we're creating new neural pathways that are creating new neural synaptics, right? They're wiring together. And you're experiencing joy here by doing this new thing, new file, new firing, new wiring. And then you keep doing it. Every day you're doing something new. You're taking a different route to work. There's a new neural pathway, firing, wiring. It's been a more joyful one, fire, wire. As we continue to do this, you're going to get more wiser. You're going to keep climbing that wisdom tree of consciousness, and then you are going to reach what it feels like to be enlightened in a human experience. You are going to feel what joy, pure joy and love is, but it's not going to reflect what you think it's going to be. It's not going to be, I can guarantee it's not going to be the money. It's not going to be the relationship. It's not going to be any of that. It's going to be when you decide to make those changes for yourself and love yourself unconditionally. I promise you that. I promise it's that change that you make in consciously choosing to do something different. So change that 80 minutes a day of consciousness, which is usually something outside of you, again, has happened to you that you now have to respond to as well. But we're likely only going to keep experiencing the same level of consciousness day in and day out because we haven't made changes. We haven't changed. We've been the same person for a long time. And as weird as this sounds, there's things that I experienced as a child that has ingrained in me, and it was only until a few years ago where I realized I hadn't changed since a child, but I look like an adult, but I'm still responding the same way as a child does because I didn't overcome it. I didn't learn how to let that thing go as a child, and this is where our, talk therapy, movement, your ice baths, massages, connection to release is important. It's so important because when we feel shitty, right, we're actually changing our pharmacy. So we can go back to the scale again, right? The scale itself is fear, shame, and guilt. Fear, shame, and guilt right at the bottom there. The chemistry that you will be producing in your body, your pharmacy, is going to be producing stress hormones. What do stress hormones do? They down-regulate your health and up-regulate disease. They are creating that pharmacy only feeds and creates proteins that down-regulate your immunity and your health. When we go up, and we're operating from a place of love, okay? If you follow it is a heart world, and I really don't want to be doing this on camera, but I feel called to sharing it. My body's chemistry is shifting, and I need to make changes. This is probably why I'm talking about it now too, right? The love drug. Love drug is oxytocin. We know that oxytocin is a different chemical to our stress hormones, right? So that person who's operating from a place of love probably has a healthier balance of neurotransmission. We think that there's the people who love others unconditionally, but someone who loves themselves unconditionally by giving themselves what they need, not what they want, but what they need. As in nourishing time for the mind, body, and soul. Nourishing time with friends and family, respecting themselves and saying no to the things they don't really want to do. That's real love to the self. Working on themselves, moving their body, eating healthy. That is respect. That is love for self. The body's pharmacy of that person is probably going to look a lot different to the person operating from the stress hormones, right? They probably look younger, they probably move faster, and their frequency is energetic, right? And you, as if you're in that lower place, you're going to be drawn to these people because that's how protons work. That's how they work. So you'll have protons and neurons. So you've got a neuron over here that's a group of them, maybe that's lacking, and they're on a negative charge. They will then move towards the positively charged neuron, and they'll take away what they need, and then they become positively charged. This one may now then go off and find someone else who's more positively charged. This is our exchange in consciousness. We're constantly doing this. This is going to continue to take from here. Someone else is going to come towards this one now and take, and we're constantly feeding each other up. So this is why it is a collective effort for all of us to be consciously ascending through our bodies and taking care of ourselves, not worrying about the material world, not worrying about what the fucking next fashion statement's going to be, okay, not worrying about what the cabal or what the your conspiracy theories, Illuminati and all the shit things that are happening. No, focusing on what you're going to do, because you're not going to, excuse me, I'm worried I'm going to blow a bubble out of my nose or something. Not worried about what other people are going to think of you, what they're doing, because it's a distraction. Those things are distracting you from being your most purest, most loving self. You are a child of God. We all are. And think about you at your most playful self. When you're most playful, you're like a kid, but you're a big kid, and you can do big kid things and enjoy those things as well, right? Take your power back by figuring out where you sit in the scale of consciousness currently, and work towards the lesson in that where you are. Are you needing to let go of your fear? Are you needing to let go of your pride? Are you needing to move forward from courage and actually step into reason? You are powerful. We are all powerful. We've just forgotten that because we have been distracted by our cell phones. We've been distracted by media. We've been distracted by the negative things happening. You are, if you're in that negative charge, lean towards the music, lean towards the art, lean towards nature that can positively charge you. Because you regardless of you being aware of this, if this makes sense to anyone, is that you're affecting your environment. If you're a mother or a father and you are angry all the time, you are feeding that to your children. You are feeding that to your children, and your children are most likely going to end up being like you unless they remove themselves from the environment. Wherever you are in consciousness, it's a reflection of your environment, and sometimes change is needed. Change is absolutely needed. And I will say the amount of changes that I've had, I trust. If God has wanted me to be a cleaner one day, I've been a cleaner. God wanted me to be a recruiter one day, I've been a recruiter. God wanted me to be a salesperson one day, I've been a salesperson. God wanted me to literally be a holistic counselor, and here I am. God wanted me to make this. I'm not attaching myself to the identity of these things anymore. And it's so easy to make these changes because I keep growing, and every time I take that leap of faith into the unknown, I level up. And you will too. You are ascending through your body. This is why it's important to connect to your body, to understand your body, to create mind, body, soul connection. Because your spirit, you have it, like most people haven't fully embodied spirit and what have experienced what that's like to be really connected to themselves. The most common thing I've ever heard when people have first come and done meditation with me is like, wow. Or they cry, right? Because they're really feeling it. They're really feeling it, and it's powerful because you're amazing and you're delicious. You're literally just, how are we even possible? You know, I want everyone to get to that point of complete and utter joy and appreciation for themselves. You have so much favor. If you get to listen to this video right now, you have so much favor in your life. You could be somewhere else, somewhere else. Let's not get, don't feed into that, but you could be somewhere else, but you're watching this right now, which means you have a lot of favor. You have a lot of things to be grateful for.